Hello and greetings. Hello and greetings to all. Here again on behalf of the Self-Reliance movement for Helensburgh. And today it's been kicking off a few times in recent years in the news, but especially just now if someone's heard the news that Ash Regan has defected to Alba Party from the SNP. So I just want to touch on and give our thoughts upon the whole act of defecting from one party to another while being a member of a parliament. And obviously we have other examples of this. Let's just get straight into the discussion. So party defections is nothing new at all. It's been there since about the dawn of time when it comes to a parliamentary democracy. But those examples back in the 1800s were, defections that were, from a new party. So, for example, the Liberal Party is to change into the Liberal Unionist Party. So it's not necessarily defection, right? And obviously they'd go on in the next elections, and then people would be able to voice whether they'd agree with that or not. The problem we have now in our modern politics, and it's spelling a doom and gloom for the future of our politics, where representatives can calmly and comfortably change willy-nilly, basically. And don't get me wrong, SNP to Alapa, not that big of a controversy, really, no matter what your opinions are, right? But then we have the example of Lisa Cameron, which defected from the SNP to the Conservatives. And that's a whole other ballgame. It's gone from one part of the grass over the fence and to the other. And the fact that the people there have voted to have her represent under the SNP and now just willing to be able to change that to the complete opposite opinions for the people that clearly elected her just seems wrong and denying democracy to those people. And don't get me wrong, it'd be the same if a Conservative defected to the SNP, whatever way the defections would go. I think it's unjust, it's unrightly, and that's what we all think here, because we would strive for and advocate for more direct democracy methods, and even in a system where we'd like to call it a party democracy. So when you vote in a general election, or even for your councillors, however it may be, you're voting upon your party. SNP, Conservatives, Labour, Liberal Party, Green Party, whatever it may be. You're not necessarily voting for that individual under the eyes of the law, because this is completely legal and doesn't require any, punishments, doesn't require any by-elections, doesn't require any reviews, nothing. Which is clearly done an example of Lisa Cameron and others when we had, let me just follow it up here, we had, I think in the year of 2022, we had a Conservative, Christian Wakeford, move to Labour just purely because of his own confidence in Boris Johnson. So, this is a across the country problem. It's a problem across the whole of our United Kingdom, not just here in Scotland. And the problem is this, is you can imagine if you are in these constituencies, that if you voted on someone to uphold the values of the party you believed in would do the best for your local area and in the country, and they changed to the complete opposite table. Like a betrayal, seems like a kick in the teeth to your democracy, and essentially removes your vote. It removes the fact that any sort of election ever took place. Which is why I just wanted to have our line on this as a movement clearly outlines that this is just, and it's becoming too comfortable for politicians to even contemplate, and then to go out and commit. Now, don't get me wrong, the example of Lisa Cameron being bullied in the party, there's an absolute valid reason why she would want out that environment, but then to still stand as an elected MSP a day before she was about to be deselected as the SNP candidate, there isn't just moral incentive there. There's trying to keep your 80k and your seat in the parliament, and then a whole area, the whole of that constituency now becomes a conservative one. And it's almost a lie in the parliament. It's a lie in democracy because nobody ever voted for that. And even in this party democracy that we live in, people would argue easily with the Conservative Party down in Westminster that, okay, we've had Theresa May and Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, and now Rishi Sunak, which have all been unelected by the country electorate. But that's because you vote for the party. Which, that's the eyes of the law, that's the eyes of the law, fair. And it's a complete contradiction to then allow this to happen, to allow politicians which are voted by their electorate to represent a certain party are able to just change what party they represent. It's ludicrous. And don't get me wrong, when you look at the list, 99% of the examples of people quote-unquote defecting is being rejected out of their party, right? Or back when the Alapa Party was founded, you had Kenny McCaskill and Neil Harvey moving across. There's very few examples of this where it is by choice. But looking back between all the different parliaments across the years, there seems to be this chilling effect that it seems to be becoming more common. And the fact that it's even more comfortably talked about within the political sphere is very concerning. And it should be something that we shouldn't stand for. Because I'd imagine if it was this local area, and we had whoever councillors it was that represented our 3 wards, shifting to the complete opposite party, you'd feel like it's a kick in the absolute teeth. And it is not because we said so, but because they decided to. And like I said, a lot of the cases, it's just so they can keep their interest and keep their job as politicians. And it's a cross-party problem, it's a United Kingdom problem as a whole, and it's just becoming too easy, And even when it's the examples of moving from SNP to Alapa, there's still an injustice to the electorate. A lot of people, the way they vote up here is independents, non-independents. This is a massive problem too. That doesn't seem like that big of a shake-up. And some people might agree with that. But the fact that the electorate have not been able to express that. And I firmly believe if you have a candidate who is going to say, if you re-elect me upon this party, say Ash Regan, you say, right, we're going to do another election before I want to go to Alapa. And if you vote me on Alapa, then that's me as an Alapa representative, not an SNP representative. I'm sure many, many people would actively vote against her as an individual purely because she has the cold feet to be able to move from one party to the other. And that needs to be that opportunity, that chance for people to say, hold on, I don't think this is a competent individual to represent me anymore. People need to be given that chance. And personally, I do not want any members of parliament, upon what party lines that they stand on, to be changing simply with a snap of the fingers what party they want to be a part of, and i.e. changing the parliament without any elections. And it doesn't seem worrying now because it's a few of them, and moving from one independence party to another, and as this becomes more common and common, you're going to start having rebellions within parties that are not just going to be within the parties. You're going to see massive shifts of representatives going for one complete side to entirely change and shake up a parliament without one vote being allowed to be casted. And this needs to be a clear law that's changed in our system, that you can't simply just do this. You can't simply change what party represents a local constituents. It's like if you had the Prime Minister, if you had Rishi Sunak right now, change over to, say, UKIP or the Reclaim Party. It's not allowing people to say whether they agree with that or not. And don't get them wrong, if that was done and people were allowed to vote upon it and they said, yeah, we agree with that, then let that be. But the people's will needs to be ultimately deciding politicians' stance. And when we talk about direct democracy, if you do not know, the best example of direct democracy is Switzerland in our continent and most widely the world, the best actor in that method of democracy, where it basically sees not only an electorate vote upon a party or vote upon individuals to represent them or vote on politicians, what they're voting on is policies. So not only you got to vote who you represent, but instead of, for example, right now the MPs voting for something and it happens to go for royal assent and potentially the House of Lords and Ladies, what they do is the next legislative body to take a bill to in order to be approved is the electorate, is the people of the country. I think that's a vital thing for any country that stands behind itself, calling itself democratic. And I think it bring a big vitalization back into politics in this country. Because what we see a lot in the West, maybe except America, but in the West as a general, is people are becoming so alienated and disillusioned with politics at a faster rate than ever before in our history as Western democratic countries. And, it's something that's come philosophized from the great Greeks and, the ancient people that formed everything that's good about Western society that we have now is now simply being, I can't be bothered today. It's got other stuff going on. It's all the same. Nothing changes. And if that's what you believe in, I can totally gather that. We can totally sympathise with that. They're saying, what's the point of me taking part in democracy when nothing changes? You feel like, Labour's the same to Tories, or, when it's local, it doesn't accumulate into anything, no matter which way you vote, or referendums and stuff like that. So to revitalise the interest of politics in this country, but also political knowledge among the populace, so they know they have confidence in what the country should run for them. Where the sovereign lies in the people, not upon an item of jewellery like the crown, or one parliament that has to go to the consent of an unelected parliament and then also get the approval of an unelected head of state, would see a massive revival in our politics, which I think is crucial, because if we keep going down this path, we're eventually going to see a group of people saying, well, look, democracy does not work, or simply, I'm not interested in democracy. I quickly want to add as well, I've just recently seen some spat on Twitter where we have Elon Musk bringing up a speech that Hamza Yusuf said about George Floyd, and I think the exact words was blatant racist. And what I'd say to him is just stay out of our politics, okay? This South American born American multi-billionaire whose interest is to subdue and manipulate heads of states, whole countries, to conform into his technologies and making money. I'd simply say to him, stay out from our business. Stay out from our politics. We are a nation. This is our country. And you should have to oblige to what the country says for you to do as a company, not the other way around. We can't see this. We've got foreign head CEOs of massive companies being able to just go online and on a platform of his own that he now owns and blatantly really badly manages it, being able to just absolutely shit on the people that we have elected it's absolutely shameful. I'd simply just say to him, stay out, Elon Musk. Stay out from our country, stay out from our politics, because ultimately you do not know what you are talking about. You do not understand our politics. You do not understand our country. And these are the people we have voted for, to represent us, and to have someone who simply owns a company, who has no mandate from anybody to be in the position that they are in, to simply disregard our people and ultimately shift and change people's views and opinions in this country. It's almost meddling into the political thinking of our nation, especially in a country that's so disillusioned and so easily changed from one opinion to the other, and so polarized in the West. It's so easy now to manipulate people's political thinking this way, especially when we're lacking in critical thinking along the populace. And it just cannot be allowed. I simply just say, from all of us here in the Self-Reliance movement, that this is none of your business, Elon Musk, about our countries, our politicians. It is not for you to comment on. So today was a discussion about defections and the act of it across our country, and it becoming a wide-scale problem. And if nothing's openly widely said by any of our political parties or anyone with any significant political influence in this country, then we're going to go down a slippery path where politicians can just change it and willy, and ultimately it's going to furtherly disillusion voters. It's going to disillusion people from democracy, which we cannot allow to happen. We have issue with Remembrance Day coming up. We got to remember our recent forefathers went out to the trenches, fought and died, saw their fellow fighters in cold blood killed by Nazis for our democracy. One of the factors, so the fact that we here today can vote, so we can make it known what we want of our country. We can tell our politicians what to do. And to simply have that just evaporated over the drip, casual, in the background disillusionment from politics. We can't allow it to happen simply because of in their name. This is something that was sacred, something that was fought upon. So, and soon we're gonna bring out a lot of Remembrance Day related content and a speech commemorating, and also hopefully some on the ground footage of the Helensburgh Remembrance Memorial, maybe asking some people around what does remembrance mean to you, something along those lines, just to properly, honourably commemorate our great country's efforts, and like I say, being the last country on the whole European continent to stand against tyranny and bring back the war. And now, since that, it's no longer something sacred. It's something to be evaporated. It's a negotiable. Democracy is negotiable now, which is shameful. So, thank you for listening in. This was just a little comment video, because I just see it sparking in the news a lot, and I'm sure this is not going to be the last of the year, especially running up to the general election. I just want to make it loud and known and clear the words of this movement, of our stance on this shameful act. So thank you very much. I hope everyone is having a brilliant day, and I just hit you with our saying again before we leave: is self-sufficiently and self-determination for the people of this country, not for politicians to decide who represents us, but for us to decide who represents us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.